Welcome everybody to Service Drive Revolution. We have an exciting show for you today. We have our coaches here for a meeting, and I propose the idea that we talk to them and interview them and get some of their feedback because they're on the front line. So at the table, we have probably 100 years of experience and incredible talent. So James, his nickname's Captain, but James Baumer. We have Matt, Hoagie, everybody knows. Christian, Cliff, and Gator. And what we're going to talk about today, and it's an incredible conversation, is what are the mindsets and behaviors that differentiate the top performers from the low performers. And if you are interested in getting better and really understanding performance, is going to be a show you're going to get a lot out of. So get out a notepad and take some notes, but this is what's coming up on Service Drive Revolution. So the situation is James is drinking water, and then 3 of you are drinking the E-Rock's famous margaritas. And then are you doing like a sober thing, Hoagie?
Coffee.
That's the sober thing?
Yeah, it's a sober thing.
Did you quit drinking?
Yeah.
All together?
All together.
Oh, wow. What, is it mandatory? Like court ordered or voluntary?
Yeah, I got in trouble.
Things that happen in Oklahoma stay
in Oklahoma. It'll be a future episode.
How much have you guys been offered for the E-Rock's famous recipe?
I've had a lot of people ask me for it. Told them it's top secret. Like, you might as well break into the CIA computers before you get in that. It's priceless. For sure.
Yeah, it's funny. After there was a boot camp, like, boot camp is the master class for new clients that we had, and they were calling Alex, asking her for it, pretending like I had said they could have it. And she knew better. But she doesn't know the recipe anyways.
Smart move.
It's funny. It's good. Okay, so the subject is at hand that I was really curious to get your guys' thoughts on, because I'm always thinking this way, right? Like, I'm always thinking, what's the gap between the person that's doing better than me and me, or what is it that I'm doing that's working versus the person who's doing something that isn't working? Like, what are the gaps? And most of the time, the first part is mindset. So it's just your general sense of yourself, your sense of your surroundings, and your view of full potential, your view of what's possible, right? And then it's the actions that come from that. So it's driven by your general sense of things, but then the actions that come out of that, the behaviors, in a sense, right? So you guys are in a lot of stores and you see the difference in managers and advisors and techs and shop foremen. And first of all, let's just start with that question. Do you think there really is a difference between the position and the outcome? Like, if somebody's a low performing tech and they're a low performing manager, is it the same mindset that gets them there?
It gets them to move forward?
Or gets them to be an underperformer?
I mean, definitely.
Is it the same across?
Definitely, I think the mindset is different between a top performer and a non-top performer.
And the position doesn't matter.
The position doesn't matter. It's still the same. It's still a service department. It's still a technician. Like, the job's still the same, brand to brand. Like, that plays no factor in it.
Like, if I'm a tech and I have poor time management and I make excuses of why I can't be 100% productive, and I become a manager, I'm going to have poor time management and I'm going to make excuses of why I can't be profitable. I think it's all mindset.
And that same mindset would make excuses for why you can't flag hours if you're a tech, or why you can't, perform as an advisor, get CSI or whatever it is, right?
Definitely think it's a choice. They're making the choice either way, one way or the other, whether they want to be low or whether they want to be high or whether, whatever. It's definitely a choice. I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it's externalizing that control.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's locus of control. Any way you want to slice it, they're going to externalize it in one spot. They're going to externalize it. The position doesn't matter.
Explain to them what locus of control is, just because there'll be people listening that don't know.
Yeah, so locus of control, there's two options One is external, which is where I give control to everything going on to some external force. So if I'm not successful, it's because of the advisor can't sell any. If I'm a tech, let's say, the advisor can't sell anything, or they're taking too long for approvals, or my manager this, or the parts department this. The other option would be internal locus of control, where my first thing is, all right, what am I doing? What can I do differently? I take control, I take ownership. How can I better use my time? What can I do to be more efficient on this thing? How can I communicate better with my advisor to ensure that I get a quick response on whatever? How does my paperwork look? Am I getting the right estimate, the right information to the advisor for him to get an approval quickly? That's always way more effective than externalizing control.
I bet if you took a survey of them, I bet you'd find all of them blaming kind of the same thing. Car count's down, the weather is really bad.
Well, how many times do we do coaching calls with our clients and they want to talk about RO count, but the RO value is off, right? Like if I'm at a $150 ELR and everybody in my comp is at $190, $200, like let's fix that first.
Or yeah, like a Land Rover store at 1.5 hours per hour, and they're like, we need more customers. And you're like,
and every time
I drive a Land Rover, I know that they break.
But it is funny, they even, out to that point, like they don't talk about the RO count being lower. They're like, well, what happened last month? And like, oh, we had some bad storms, or, it's been cold, or people have been on vacation, like all the things. And they're trying to say the RO count's down, but it's not that thing anyway. Like it's just a funny thing that's,
or whatever month you're doing. April's a weird month. Like what?
Oh yeah,
what is that?
yeah.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Isn't it funny where sometimes the excuses actually create traffic? Like, oh, there was a freeze, and you're like, yeah, they're coming in on tow trucks,
Right.
but that's your excuse. It's so funny. So what is, and I'll just go around the table and kind of think about this, but what is something that somebody does that shows you that they're going to be a low performer or they're going to be a high performer? Like, what are things when you first start engaging somebody, what are those sort of things that kind of are telltale signs what you're dealing with? You can go first, Jimmy.
Let's see. I think high performers always are thinking very positively, and they, like you said before, they have a mindset, and this is where they're going to get to, and nothing's going to stand in their way. And they kind of ignore the negative stuff.
Doesn't even enter the equation.
And it's really remarkable how quickly these high performers excel. Like you can take somebody and put them in a store, within 3 months they turn the thing around just because they have that different attitude. And then they attract top performers too. I think people are attracted to them. Low performers are the same way. They kind of hold court in the back of the shop somewhere, and they're attracting low performers too. That's a very negative thing. So that's, man, it's really clear right away. Oh, and high performers too, I think they're okay with trying new ideas or retrying ideas that they've done before. Low performers have made a decision that doesn't work because I tried it 18 years ago and I had a bump in it, and they don't want to do it anymore. They're closed-minded to that.
Yeah, that's great. Matt?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to say similar things in different ways. But, if I think about launching a new store, for instance, there's times that they might be at $130 effective labor rate, and I'm talking to them that we're going to get to $200. And so one clear difference right away is a high performer, or somebody that's going to tackle the things that we're going to talk about, says, boy, I don't know how that's possible, but I'm in, let's go. And there's that kind of a mindset. The low performers, like our market wants to support that. There's no way, that's impossible. So they start using very limiting words, very finite words that we can't, it's impossible, no way, my customers, and the other side of that coin is show me the way and we'll do it.
Yeah, it's funny, like the top performers, like James is saying, have a positive outlook, but they also ask questions with the intention to really understand, where the more negative or low performers ask questions that are disguised as a question, but they're more of a statement.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of that too is when I'm in those situations with the top performers, all of the leadership is pulling on the same end of the rope. Meaning I've got the owner and the GM just as involved and excited and holding the service director and service manager and advisors accountable. It's all the leadership team is
they're all rooting for each
on
other.
The same thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Hoagie?
Yeah, that I think is one of the most important things I was going to say is it's not just when the thing's successful, when the most successful is there's just a lot of synergy from the top to the bottom, right? Like it's clear they've had the discussion and, there's just a unified goal and everybody's kind of talking the same language because it's a funny thing we talk about at masterclass a lot is we like to bring up the fact that, if you ask an owner or a dealer, an executive, how the service department's doing, they'll talk about net profit. If you ask a service manager how the service department's doing, they'll talk about gross or productivity or whatever. And it's this weird thing where we're all watching the same game and there's two separate scoreboards. And the more there's one scoreboard and the vision is the same, like, you're so far ahead, and it's not very common, but every once in a while we come across them where they're coming out of masterclass and they're talking about, like, as a group collectively, they're talking about moving forward, and that has to resonate with the rest of the department. There's no way there's that level of synergy and positivity and outlook amongst all of them, and the advisors don't recognize that there's real change happening.
It's
right?
contagious.
It's contagious.
That
It's
enthusiasm.
Just, and it's almost to the point where, like,
even we get excited and we're not, they're doing all the hard work, right?
Yeah, but it's a real thing where, like, whether it's watching them or even for ourselves and looking at ourselves, I think when we're the most successful, there's somebody having to slow us down instead of speed us up. And so that piece always resonates with me a lot. And then the low performer, like, I don't know, it's just you don't have to have a lot. I don't know that we have to list a whole lot of things or telltale signs or anything. It's like you just give them a couple of things. They're just not even doing the basic things. And so if you're chasing them or anything like that, to, I don't know, just the basic stuff, right? There's no curiosity. Like, that's the thing, I think with the low performer is there's no curiosity. There's no, like, okay, hey, what's this thing? Or how do I get better or anything like that? They're just indifferent to almost anything.
You see it from a couple of points because you see it in the store, but you also are the gatekeeper of what clients we let in a sense. And so you're trying to determine that up front, whether that client is a good match for us or not. So you see both sides in a way.
Yep. So the thing that I've noticed, whether it's pre-client or post-client, is that your top performers, they're obsessing about outcomes. And they're trying to figure out a way to manipulate the outcome, or manipulate the system so that it comes out. And then the low performers are trying to excuse or explain away the outcomes. So whether I'm on a strategy session talking to a potential client or someone that's already a client, the results, whether or not it's like an opportunity and like, I wonder how that happened or what could I do to make that outcome different, that's an indicator of someone would be a top performer on our program. And then if they're just trying to make an excuse or prove, say why their numbers are what they are because of an excuse, like, like we were saying before, because it's snowy or whatever it is, that's definitely something that would be indicative of a lower performer.
Humans are the only animals that will have an undesirable outcome but continue the same behavior over and over again.
It's weird.
And justify it and go down with the ship, even when somebody's trying to throw you a raft. Like, nope, I'll stay here.
Yeah, like there's so I think about this all the time, and I've tried to put myself in a position. I just removed my doorbell in my apartment because I'm trying to win a Nobel Prize.
I sensed a joke coming on. I braced myself.
Look at the disappointment on James's face. Are you disappointed because you thought he was really going to say something serious?
I knew. I knew.
No, he has a look.
You can't pick up the setup anymore.
It isn't any but the tone of like it used to be like, I was walking to work.
Yeah.
That same tone comes out, but it's like, oh, my doorbell. But it sounds like I was walking to work. It's the same setup.
That's my delivery.
Yeah,
The delivery of
it's
it's
the best. I
the
love
same.
it.
The first thing I thought about in all of the clients that we've dealt with and the ones that excel and move forward and ones that fall behind is out the gate. One of the things that I'd find across the board is the quality of the communication. It's their communication to me, it's their communication to you, it's their communication with the owner. If it's a service director, it's the owner's communication with the director, to the technicians, to the advisor, like that whole thing in both ways. It's either very, very poor for the low performers or very high for the high performers. Mm-hmm. And I think that they can elevate themselves so that communication gets better, because it's the same thing. Like, we're wanting to pull this way and you're trying to push this rope. And, once they change the quality of the communication, it's a huge one for me.
I think in that communication and a top performer, there's a level of impatience. Like, they want the information.
Yes. They're chasing
give it to
you.
me so I can go.
Yeah.
And a low performer, they're just comfortable not having the information for an indefinite period of time, because then that means that they have to do something with that information. So if there's a problem and they get a solution, now they have to do something with that information.
And they never wanted to do it. They could have just said they didn't want to do it, but they're pretending like they did.
They had no intention of ever doing it one way or the other.
Right. That's good.
Gator?
Yeah, I think two things really come to mind is kind of piggyback what Cliff talked about was when we get a new client or just any client in general, like when we ask them to do things, like they get it done, right? So like if they're a person that, does really well, like if you ask for missed ops, you ask for a menu change, you ask for whatever, like they don't waste any time. They just get it done. And the person that doesn't do well, they typically drag their feet. We have to chase them. We have to ask them a numerous amount of times to get whatever task done that we have asked them to do. And the other thing that stands out is kind of during the day as you're observing, the underperformer looks up and it's 4 o'clock and they've accomplished nothing, right? Like the tail's wagging them, they're not wagging the tail, and it's just the opposite, right? So whoever the other side is the one that's doing well, like they're out on the drive, they're coaching their team, they're doing missed ops, like they have a routine about their day, like they're really in control of the whole day so that the outcome is exactly what they are looking for.
They're not reactionary. They're creating the outcome. Yeah, that reminds me of we used to have these meetings, and it was when James was a client, and they were going around the room talking about uniform expense or something. But James realized his uniform expense was higher than everybody else. So he's literally calling his uniform company and setting up appointments with other uniform companies. And then he puts me on the dime because he's like, hey, can you come Monday? And I've already set up these appointments. I'm like, I got plans Monday. Like, let me see if I can. But like he was in the meeting doing it, not even waiting for the drive home kind of a thing. And that's what you mean is like the performers they don't wait. It's not going to get better. It's not like your problems aren't like wine. They don't get better, right?
Have you guys noticed the high performers read more too? When you go to a manager's office and they got a stack of books.
Yeah.
And they're
what about if you have a whole library full of books? What would you think about a guy like that?
And you see they're reading the same books. You go from office to office and they're reading like Will Guidera's book or Jocko's book. And so you see the same ones in the same offices. I think that's really interesting.
Well, they're more intentional about everything. And so they're more planners. And so they're doing these things and like they're seeking for more. I mean, I wrote down they accept and receive the coaching.
They want it. They want to get, just like we want to get better. Like we're open to anything, right? Like we just want to understand. And if there's an angle we can take or change, we will. They're the same way.
Yeah.
I think so. I think Cliff said something that's really important that we should unpack a little bit. Is he said it's a choice. And doesn't it break your heart sometimes when you see potential in somebody and they just won't make the choice? And no matter what you do, they're just committed to the fatalism of not performing. Like it's part of it's almost like being an underperformer is part of their identity. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they won't make the choice. They won't even try.
Yeah, that's the hardest piece to kind of get through to somebody when like you can just see it. You can see the potential and you've tried multiple angles, you've talked to them, you've shown them, you've worked with them, and you just can't get through to them. Like it's so, like as a coach, like it's so hard to understand.
I swear it's like raising children. Like it's literally like, where you see your kids do these things and man, if you had done this other thing, it would have been way different. And they just can't seem to connect those pieces because of maturity, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a piece of it too.
Yeah.
I think it's self-esteem.
Yeah. I'll beat myself up because I feel like the answer is so obvious, right? Like the one thing that is that coming out on the other side of maybe there's a little bit more work, but the other side of it is like the freedom and the, like going home and having like that feeling that you accomplished something today or had a great month or broke records or whatever it is. And the activity and energy required to do that is not that much different than the activity or energy required to not do it, if that makes sense. Like you almost have to work harder to make the decision not to be better, if that makes sense. But I totally understand. Like it's frustrating, it's painful, and the only thing I can think of is there's got to be a way in at some point in time so that somebody kind of sees something. But I think getting them to make a choice is a very interesting.
Because you have to make the choice for yourself. You can only want it so much for somebody before it's on them. They have a vote. Right, they have a vote in what they're doing.
I spent a lot of time in my career being held hostage because I wanted success more for somebody than they wanted it for themselves.
Yeah.
And I would just keep saying, if you just do this, like if I'm trying to coach, but at some point they have to make the choice for themselves. And and it is so frustrating because you can just see that a couple little tweaks. You're going to be there for the same amount of hours. Like, why wouldn't you want those hours to be more valuable and more fun?
I think the part of that that's really frustrating is I think all of us at one point or another have made that choice, right? And so what it's like to be on the other side and feel bad and need to disrupt your routine or, need a change. And so it's possible because you did it. And like, I don't know, I always think like, if I can do it, you certainly can do it. Like, and they think like, oh no, you're special or you're like, you have some superpower that I don't have. And it's like, no, trust me. Yeah. It's just as hard over here as it is over there.
I think about when I became a new client so many years ago and I was so negative and fighting everything so much for, even before we partnered up, for years, and I was having very marginal success, like really none. But then after making that decision and saying, wait a second, I got to do something different and going all in 90 days, it was fixed, like 180 degrees. And so it is so frustrating when you know that once you make that decision, it ends up being less energy for better results.
Also, too, if you just think back, like the thing that stuck out to me is your team was a conduit of that energy. Like everybody else got excited.
Absolutely.
And that was contagious, right? Like their lives got better.
Yeah, it amplifies on itself. When you decide to fix that for yourself and you're in charge of other human beings, it just spreads. And so then their effort multiplies on your own. And so the result is very, very quickly a huge shift in the culture, in the numbers, in everything that goes on.
There's a little bit of a salvation thing that happens too. Once it turns a corner, they almost...
Well, their quality of life is better.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't get easier in a sense because then they're just seeking other... Like, there's not one of us at this table that hasn't asked somebody else at this table, like, I need some coaching here.
Absolutely.
And I need you to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And we've all been on the receiving end of that, and like we're seeking that. But there is a salvation that once you fix it and it goes back the other direction, that man, it just feels so much better, and you can almost kind of like relax and breathe.
It bleeds
and
into their
you know,
home life, like they become better spouses and parents, and you know, I mean, so there is this salvation thing. Like when you've got the thing fixed that you spend most of your day doing, and that is going so much better, you feel self-esteem, which makes you more capable of being a better husband or wife and a better parent.
Yeah, your kids and your spouse want to be around you because you're kind of emitting that positivity.
Well, back to what James said too, is like that positivity and that openness will affect every part of your life. It'll affect your relationships. It'll, your family, everything. Because if you have that open kind of positive outlook, people respond well to that, and you're always learning, and you just see the brighter side of things.
Almost people want to be around you more.
Yeah.
They want to be connected to you more, talk to you more. And
really all it takes is that one choice, right? Like I get you to make one good choice, and then it's just this steamroll effect where you're making different choices, and that's why we see the results change so quickly, right? We just make this 360-degree turn because you decided one time to do something different.
Yeah, pick the store that's turned around the quickest or whatever, and it's that whole thing, and then they're seeking the next thing, and I
think a lot of people haven't been introduced to leverage. And go ahead.
Hold on.
Okay.
A 360-degree turn.
You need 180.
180 degree. You're
going to be right back where you started.
That basically means you just turned a full circle and you're right back in the
you're going to be losing
But I'm
money
different.
Again.
Well, he was really good at math. Somebody told him that, and
that's North Carolina.
You're looking for 180.
Okay?
That's not North Carolina.
Sounded like North Carolina.
Listen,
math.
don't drag North Carolina down. Okay, we're not going down together.
But
just for the audience, we went to dinner in North Carolina. I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago now, and they still have their Christmas lights up in the nice part of town.
Proudly.
And no one can say, and no one can tell us why.
Well, also
we don't
nobody
know.
else noticed but me.
You would just be the weirdo if you took them down.
It was a normal thing for us. Like, yeah, that's right. Like,
Who's that guy with
you don't
no
have your
Christmas lights?
up? What?
Doesn't he know it's May?
It was so fascinating. We're just sitting there, and Chris is like, "Why are the Christmas lights up?" And I was like, No, because that's
You're
normal.
like, darn it, they are, aren't
He goes,
they?
no, that's not normal. Like you don't have Christmas lights up in
You take
May
them
or whatever.
down.
Jamie's
like,
still talking about it like she
needs to start some sort of city council movement or something.
Start a movement.
Like, what would it cost? Like $1,000 to get some kids part-time to take them down and wrap them in a...
I'm going to ride back over there and see if it's just during when the leaves are off the trees or if they're still up with the leaves on there.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say how we do anything is how we do everything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
think leaves are changing it?
No.
That sounds a little external.
There's somebody going, oh, it looks better with the leaves, probably.
It translated into Oklahoman because he's like, why are the Christmas lights up? I'm like, oh, those are just decorations. Christmas thing. That's not...
It's so funny.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Okay, so the next question I have for you guys is, we interview a lot of people to be coaches, and a lot of times they're service managers. They think they're really good at what they do. They get really offended when we don't hire them. And it's always hard to explain to people up front, like what it's like on this side, because you could be a really good service director and still not be good on this side. It's just different when you do what we do. And also, I think coming in, you probably don't think about the standard we kind of hold ourselves to, in a sense. I know if you were a client, so this is what's interesting, is half the table on this side were clients previously, right? And then you guys came in, not knowing that part of it. So you weren't. So it's a different experience. But you try to explain to people up front, like, oh, it's way different. You have to unlearn everything you think you know and relearn, in a sense. And even, I think even to the clients, it's always funny, like when like James or Vicky and I are talking about things, and I'll be like, hey, I did that to you. And like, it's always like, oh, like, you know, like things I did to kind of move you mentally or whatever was not, you know, it was experienced different on your side as a client than it is on this side as a coach. It's just a different experience, right? So what would you guys say about how different it is and what it takes to be a good coach in a sense? And you're kind of the newest to the group, so it'd be interesting to hear your opinion before the veterans.
Yeah. What it takes to be a coach, I think.
To get results, like
yeah.
to be effective on this side.
What I think, you know, when you're a service director or service manager, like you can influence it daily through holding them accountable because you're there, right? You essentially have the hammer, right? And as a coach, like I don't have the hammer anymore, right? Like I have to connect, I have to create behaviors that you will continue to do when I'm not there. And like there's an art to that. There's a psychology about getting you to do the thing behind the scenes whenever I'm not there. And I think when you're not there daily, like that to me, that's the biggest difference. Like when I was in the store daily, like as soon as you got off track, like I could get you back on track pretty quickly. And I can't do that as a coach. So I think that's the biggest thing to me that stood out so far.
So what does that change in your mindset and your approach to things, knowing that? Like, what is it that has to change?
That I have to be more, like I have to have a long-term plan. I have to be 8 steps, I have to be 8 steps, you know, front of you. So
instead of in the moment.
Yeah, like I can't be in the moment because like once I get you past step 1, I got to have you on step 2. I got to have you on step 3, and like I have to continuously get you down this road, and I have to do it from a distance, right? So like I have to communicate through you via email, text, video, whatever, and that takes a little different skill to get that done.
Cliff?
I just want clarification. You're recording videos and sending to your clients? Like I need to up my game. I mean, I can.
It's a great idea.
You got a face for video.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would appreciate it.
You don't even have
love
to
it.
say anything.
They would keep it.
Just
They
take a
would frame
picture of it
it.
and just send it to them.
Just smile and we'll just get stuff done.
Huh?
It'd be weird.
Yeah. So I think to become a good coach from spending time in the dealership, one of the things that happens to me, and it's continuing to happen to me after all these years, and I feel like it feels like 6-month increments, but I feel like I'm continually reborn. Like everything that I learned up until that point has all been a lie. And everything that I was told was the thing that I needed to chase was not the thing I needed to chase. And I think if I molded that down into one thing, the difference in sitting in this seat versus sitting in a service director's seat is sometimes there's not as much vision in the service director's seat from here.
It's more closed and routine and
yes.
keep it the same.
Yes. And on this side, it's a way more direct vision of what the outcome's going to be and how we get there.
Because you already see it
Yes.
when they don't see it.
Yes.
And
you
also,
see the full potential in
you're in a bunch of different stores, and so you see what's working everywhere. So you just have a broader view of things, right? Because you see the winners and you see the losers, and you can model that pretty easy, right?
Yes, and I think the last piece is going back to the first thing that separated good, high-performing managers, techs, parts people, like whatever you want to throw in there, and my quality of communication. Was another thing that's really key to being successful at this. Like I've got to be super, super clear on what I'm trying to communicate and how I'm trying to communicate it.
So I'm going to skip you two because we've already made a video about this.
So a couple things come to mind. One is, and I think you were kind of touching on this a little bit, is in this role, you've got to be proactive. Like it's very easy when you're in the store and you got a fire burning, like you're in reactive mode a lot, right? On this side of the fence, you have to be proactive. I've got to look at a daily text or a daily tracking sheet and see a problem and know what to do about that problem, which brings me to thing number 2, which is when you're in the seat in a store, we often overcomplicate the fix. Like it's really easy to be sitting there and say, oh, I've got this, my effective labor rate is nowhere near where it should be. And that's, you know, we label that impossible or, you know, whatever the thing is. But the reality,
meanwhile, it takes an hour to do all those things if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and the reality is if I've got a pricing strategy that's designed for $200 and I just had a 50% wildcard penetration day and my ELR is 150, like there's a math problem, and that's really simple to find. There's only a couple of things that I'm going to track down. And so being on this side of the fence, you realize that the solutions are much simpler than we think they are when we're in the store.
I like that. It's just a math problem.
It's just a math problem.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I think all of us see or hear the same problems over and over again when we go to stores. And it's just a repetition, and they can't hire techs or whatever their issue is. We keep hearing those things over and over and over again. And you want to listen to that and be empathetic to that, but not pay attention to that noise so much. You know exactly what levers you need to pull when you go into a store to make changes. And if you get some traction on 1 or 2 things, one of you guys mentioned that earlier, it's a lot easier to get traction on other things. But there's just a lot of noise. And I got stuck in that same thing too. You get stuck in that same loop over and over again. And I'm telling you, everybody at every store has got the exact same things going on.
You can almost name the same people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can go in the same thing and they go, it's way different than here. Like, well, that guy's the same as the one at this place and the same one.
Yeah.
What's so different? Like,
And the turning point for these managers, I think the confidence is certainly one of those things, but there's a certain humility among the successful managers and successful advisors. I mean, we all know advisors that are outliers, that are writing more work than the other 6 advisors at the store combined. And they're always really quiet, right? They're very humble. They're very open-minded to things. You never know it when you walk into the store. And service managers are the same way. There's outliers out there. And they're not braggadocious. They're not making a big noise. They're just sitting back and doing things right. They're not busy all the time. They're working on the business. They're not stuck working in the little minutia stuff. But I think that humility is a big part of it.
What was that word that he just used?
Braggadocious.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is what
isn't it funny when you hear those excuses too? And like I said this earlier, but their excuse is actually their advantage. Like, oh, you can't hire techs here because we're in a small town. And you're like, no, that's the easiest place to get techs to move where they can afford a house and the schools aren't like here in LA or whatever.
You go to one store
or they
and the
say like our
manager
customers are different. It's a small town. And you're like, that's great. So word will travel fast that we're doing a good job. Like,
yeah. You go to one store one week and they'll go, oh, it's really slow because it's tax time. The very next week you go to another store, they go, it's really busy because it's tax time.
Yeah.
And both are true.
Yeah.
So funny. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No, I think one thing that like illustrates this, and sometimes I just wish we could publish those things, but some of the with some of our clients that are in a group, and all the stores are on the group, we have a call with them once a month. And this topic of high performers and low performers, we structure that call where the in order of net to gross. And normally we start with the low net to gross, but it is always a crazy illustration to me to listen to the low performer.
Oh, you on those Zooms, you could turn off the sound and blur the numbers. And you could tell who the low performers 100%. Were just by their body language, by their energy, you could turn off the sound and you could tell who's performing and who isn't.
And you get to the top of the call, like one we had this week, we got to the top of the call and the guy is pretty regularly #1 in the country in CSI and pretty regularly #1 in net to gross in a very high performing group. And then he wants to know what everybody else sees.
Yeah.
No excuses for I'm not hearing this or that. He just wants to download information, and other people want to give out information as to why their low performance is the way it is.
I think
It always blows me away on the F1. If you watch the F1 driver interviews after the race, by the time you get to 5, the excuses start. So they interview every driver, and the top guy will be like, well, we kind of put it together today or whatever. And then number 2 is like, oh, we were just a little off the mark. And by the time you get to 5, it's like, oh, the this, the that, the weather, the rain. Like, it's so funny how it just, you can just tell by the tone and by what they say.
So on one of our group calls, on the elite call, one of the dealers who didn't come in number 1 was so annoyed that he didn't, like, he had this grand month and he was so excited about it. He's like, I know I'm going to be number 1. He gets on the call and he's not number 1. Immediately, like, the call ended at whatever, 2:00. 2:02, my phone's ringing. He's like, all right, what am I need to do? Like, what? And like, he's immediately starting to change stuff. They're not selling for that number 2. Like, I'm just first loser kind of deal. Like, I'm not going to be number 2.
Well, that's the same thing with the F1 video. I would suggest that the number 1, the person that won the race, they're less satisfied with their performance than the number 5 person. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's so weird to me. I was kind of just thinking about that too, is when we'll do coaching calls, and part of what we do when we do a coaching call with a client is we have them kind of fill out a sheet. So it gives a little guidance for everything. But when you have somebody that's at 50 or 60% net to gross, and they send you the coaching recap, what's it look like?
It's completely filled out.
They're writing in the margins.
Yes.
And then you got somebody that's losing money. What's their coaching recap look like?
One or two items on there. A couple
CSI.
Need more cars.
Yeah.
Need better
more
weather.
traffic. Yeah. So it's so funny, like that starve for information. You guys hit that on the head.
Well, I think we've talked about this a few times. Like, what's the difference between a leader and somebody who's not a leader? And it's just simply, I'll take it. I'll own it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll take responsibility.
The leader says, I'm going to take responsibility. And when you have that mindset, the excuses go away. Your coachability goes up. Like, you want coaching, you want information because you want to take that and do something with it. And, it's a choice. It's intentionality. I'm not going to compromise on the things that we're going to do. We're going to do the stuff, right? Like, and that it's just going to happen. And I think that's the biggest difference to me is just, I'll take it. I own it.
One way or the other. If the outcome's not as good as I wanted it, I'm owning it. If it's good, I'm owning it.
If we don't succeed, it's on me too. And then we'll figure out another way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's great.
Good. Well, thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Job Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.